stop and start stop situation, start stop policy. These implement the CT activate and CT deactivate methods. Same basic arguments: endpoint, user ID, password. Name is going to be different. You're going to pass a situation or policy name, and optional RTM you want to use. And let's see. Execute it implements the CT execute method. Essentially what this does is this will run a SOAP request that is stored in a file on the TEMS in a certain directory. I forget where it is. Basically, it's going to be endpoint, user ID, password, file name, and the return value. What else we got? Okay. Universal message. This is an implementation of the CTWTO method, which writes a message to the universal message log. There's arguments for that. Pretty straightforward. Category, severity, and actual data you want to write are the important things there. And SQL, this is probably one of the more useful ones. This allows you to implement any free-form EID SQL against the hub TEMS. And it implements the CT get method, but with the arguments specifically for doing SQL. And the arguments you want to be concerned with here are SQL on table. And I don't have a sample. I have an example. I just put together one where we query the hub TEMS, get a list of all the agents that are online or and offline, and write that to an impact data type and display it in an operator view if you want to see that. It took about 5 minutes to put together. Pretty straightforward. Remote command. This executes a program on the specified ITM managed system. The arguments are endpoint, user ID, password, managed system, and the actual command you want to execute. This is caveat with this is that command has to exist on the existing on the agent, and you don't get any output from the command. It's not like a utility task. It's just an implementation of the subcommands that do remote execution. Time functions, covered these already. Converts an epoch value to an ITM time formatted timestamp, and flip of that is the ITM timestamp to date. Converts an ITM formatted date string to an impact policy date. Wow, I went more faster than I thought it would. All right, the Perl script, ITM ATR to WSDL. This generates an attribute group specific WSDL file. The WSDL file must be compiled and imported, and you have to read up on either the TVSM documentation or the impact documentation to know how to do this. It varies depending on the platforms. And usage for this command is going to be the script name, ITM attribute group name, and then the ATR file. If the ATR file is not specified, it uses standard in, so you can cat an ATR file to it and parse it. And the resulting WSDL text is printed to standard out. Here's an example of invoking an ITM ATR to WSDL, NT system, KNT ATR. So we're gonna create a WSDL file based on the NT system attribute group. Now, when you do this, you're going to have to use the low-level web services functions. Array arguments have to be allocated using WS new array. These are important for the A filter and the attributes arguments. You want to invoke the do CT get method using WS invoke. That's the name of the method you're going to use there. And the return value is now going to be Java objects returned from that are defined in the WSDL. In the format, in the green basket, you can have table, data, row, and this row is going to be an array of objects. Numeric objects are going to be represented as integers or floats, so you don't have to do any conversion there. Enumerations are going to be treated as strings, and if the attribute argument is not null, only the specified attributes will have values. Everything else is going to be null. So I got an example of that up, it looks like, coming up, but here's an example. As you can see, there's a lot more you have to do because I'm not doing the work for you. You have to set the default package name, build your arguments list. Here's an example where WS new array, we're creating an array of A filters, and we got to populate each one of those that we want to use. Do the same thing with the attribute, server name, and context switches per second. Web service name, web service port, all these are values that are stored in the WSDL file. There's our method, it's in the WSDL file as well. Our endpoint. Build our parameters, and then we use WS invoke, web service name, passing all those arguments, and the return value is table. We grab the data, which is the next object, and then the rows, and then we just loop through the rows to get the results back. So we're looping through our rows, we're writing out the current row we're on, and here's an example of using numeric comparison to show you that you don't have to do any trickery with it to convert it. And here's what the results look like. One row that came back, as you can see, all the attributes, these are all defined in the WSDL file, but because here, we said we only wanted server name and context switches. Sorry. We're only seeing values for, where are they? There's one. Context switches has values, and server name should have a value somewhere in there. Everything else is null. And like I said, if you want any more detailed information, just come down to the booth. I'll be happy to show you. Any questions about it?